Okay, record on this computer and go live. Let's see if it's working. I think we're good, Maritza.
We're
So
alive!
many buttons. We did it. It's so good to be here. I posted it yesterday when we were talking, and then you were like, oh yeah, be more, don't do more. I'm like, oh my God, that is freaking brilliant. And as you saw, I had to throw it right up on my platform. So thank you for that brilliance. I think it really resonated with a lot of the people in my groups. I posted it in a few different places. So thank you for that. So
Thank you for posting.
So before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. One is if somebody's on the Zoom chat, you can ask questions right in the chat. If you're on Facebook Live, I will do my best to monitor what's going on here. I'm still fairly new with this particular platform. And then before I dive in with Maritza, I want to give my digital marketing tip of the week. So yesterday, I was talking with somebody. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I was talking with somebody about Pinterest, and a lot of people have interest in Pinterest, and it's fun, and it's a time suck, and it's just so enjoyable for so many reasons. But then I wanted to talk to her about using it for business, because hers is a very visual business. She creates a lot of images. She does beautiful work. She's a gifted gardener and does like window boxes and rooftop gardens, and just brilliant. And the images just blow me away. And so you can go on to Pinterest for fun, or you can go on with a business mind. And when you do go on with a business mind, what I want you to do is always make sure that you're linking back to your business page or your website or whatever it is, someplace you can measure. So now I'm going to switch from Pinterest over to things you can measure. So let's see if I have it open someplace. I have too many windows open at this point. What I want to do is talk to you about B&M Catering. B&M Catering, for every single post that we put up there, pretty much we're asking, right? We talked about this yesterday, Maritza. Ask, contact us, read our reviews, request a quote. Request a quote takes you to a page that you've seen on a million websites. Give how many, this is it. They're interested and they've got a date and they're going to fill out the information. And the minute they hit send me a quote, it won't work now because I haven't filled it out, but you've seen it. It's going to go to another page that says, great, thanks for filling out our quote. We will be in touch with you soon. That page is the money page, and that's where I want all of my traffic to go. And so same thing with Pinterest. I want to be able to measure. So if I go back where I was, oh, were you able to see the B&M page, by the way, when I'm showing it? Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what you could see. And go back to analytics. If I go to social, and don't worry about this too much, you guys, it's really just to show you. Pinterest is a wonderful, if you can see here where it says Pinterest, of the 474 visits to that came in through social, most of them came in through Pinterest.
Wow.
Which is wow. But I want to tell you also, none of those became a request to quote. But what it did do was build brand recognition. And in this case, we're doing banner ads. So it put a cookie on their site. So now they're going to start seeing our ads. So that was kind of complicated, but I did want to share it because I thought, you know what, you guys, like when you're looking, especially if you have a visual business, number one, use what's available to you, but get good at one thing, then move on to the next. And number two, see on your website what pages you can measure that are going to make a difference. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because you know I could talk about this all day long. I have to figure out where to unshare now. Stop sharing. And now it's going to be about Maritza, and I'm going to go over here.
Well, before it is, I am always in awe of your brilliance in your arena. That was mind-blowing to me in a couple of ways. It made me want to throw a party because their site is so visual. I was like, sure, I'll use them. And it
Yeah.
made me understand the use of Pinterest for something like that
Yes.
clearly. And also the third thing is you see in the analytics that even though the traffic didn't convert, it's still traffic and recognition and awareness of the brand. So
Right.
you, my dear, are brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. But I love this stuff. Like I really should have been like a detective, I think. But this is as close as I'm going to get when I'm working from home.
Well,
So
you're in your magic. We're going to talk about being in our magic, and you're in your magic.
perfect. Maritza is going to talk to us about whole leadership, leading with heart. She wants to show us, well, let me tell you a little bit first more. So Maritza Coscarelli is the founder and lead coach at MC Coaching. She is cultivating authentic leaders, and we'll talk about what that means. Her powers is positive influence, prestige, and passion, which I love that. And today we're going to talk about how you can show up fully and authentically to build trust-based relationships in life and in business. She's going to give us tools and skills we need to succeed. And I'm so excited that you're here, Maritza.
Thank you for asking me. I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited to share.
Awesome. What are you going to tell us today?
Well, I want to begin with some stats. I'm an art brain, right? I'm in the art of coaching, and there's a lot of science of coaching, especially coming to the forefront now, and also a lot of awareness in the workplace. So maybe a little story about how I came to whole leadership, how I came to this. What is it really? In a nutshell, it's showing up fully and authentically. Brene Brown is a big inspiration of mine, but it's interesting to me that I was already developing whole leadership before I really knew her work on vulnerability other than her famous TED Talk. She calls it removing armor in order to be fully present and fully engaged with each other. And I was always calling it removing the mask. Being clear, but being human. Why does this matter? Well, the stats I'm going to share are a little bit depressing, and it's kind of the story of how I came to this. I've been blessed to work and train as a professional performing artist for a big part of my young adult life. Then I went into group fitness, as many retired formal professional dancers do. And in that, I became more corporate in that I was promoted to a lifestyle and area director of spas and fitness centers. All of a sudden, I was thrusted into training, management, hiring, assisting the human resources department of this wonderful company, NFC Amenity Management. And it was funny that my success was based not on what I knew about being in that position, but what I knew about my previous work through being a performing artist. Artists have to show up fully and genuinely. When you or anyone in our audience today watches a performer, you might not know anything about music or about singing or about dancing. It's why these talent shows are so popular. You just feel something. So now the story, right? Forbes tells us, I have it in front of me so that I quote the latest stats. The Conference Board reports that 53% of Americans are currently unhappy at work.
Oh.
I think that number is probably low. They've done their research. You have to think about the people who didn't answer their surveys and questions, and still 53% makes you go, oh, right? People gain weight at work. 2 out of every 5 people gain weight. It adds to the obesity issues we have in our country. They're sedentary, and 63% of employees do not have a health and wellness regimen once they're working in a corporate setting. American workers forfeited nearly 50% of paid vacation in 2017. We could be happier if we took a break, if we took a vacation. Most of these people globally say that 79% who quit their jobs or are unhappy blame a lack of appreciation or recognition from management, from leaders.
I can understand.
So I'm not only a corporate coach or a whole leadership coach, I also do life coaching and public speaking. And the reason I do that is to spread the word that relationships are the future. with all the tech and the wonders of digital marketing and our phones and our laptops and Facebook and Instagram, what is going to be irreplaceable is the human connection. Whole leadership means I see you, I honor you, I hear you, I respect you. And therefore, it's a give and take. You reciprocate with the same. You and I have started to build a lovely relationship as colleagues and as new friends because we take the time to get to know one another, one another's work, to see, hear, love, and respect one another. That's the basis of what I share. The question is, how do we do that? It's a little bit scary. It takes confidence. It takes courage. It takes empathy. And so we begin with self-leadership. How are we leading our lives, our work, our profession, ourselves? That's the first question.
That's a good question.
Self-leadership involves self-awareness and choosing how we show up, choosing to be vulnerable, to remove the mask, to incorporate in conversation, in daily passings and interaction, our humanness. Did I make up that word? Our humanity is probably the correct term, but I like to call it humanness, right?
I like that.
That we are not robotic on the job, you know, and if we're not using this in corporate, it's a great way to show up in our businesses as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. It's a way to show up on all these social media platforms. I like to call it be real.
Mm-hmm.
I have a stage presence because of my background as a professional dancer and actor, but that hat was removed many years ago. I left that in the past and took the lessons of it. And today, it's not showtime, it's I'm here time. We're here together. What can we achieve together? How are you really feeling? How do I really get to know you? In Bringing Your Whole Self to Work, a wonderful book, it says, if you really knew me, you'd know that. It's one of the games he designed.
I love that.
We do it with teams. And then we add, if you really, really knew me, you'd know that. And then the third one, if you really, really, really knew me, you would know that.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, talk about my mentor in writing, Brene Brown, right? Talk about removing the armor, talk about removing a mask. Then we can get really engaged, fulfilled, creative, innovative at work. You can't be hiding yourself and do your best work. It doesn't work that way.
That's especially true for solopreneurs. You can't hide and be successful.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And we hide as self-preservation. We think it's keeping us safe, right? It's even wired, you know, it's wired in our brains, but there's no saber-toothed tigers chasing us anymore. I think, I'm not sure, I did so many calls yesterday and we had a beautiful conversation, and I might have said this to you or someone else, but what we're doing isn't really life or death. I just spoke with my 25-year-old daughter. She's stressed about having a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work to do. It's what we spoke about yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I said to her, we both heard this from one of our business coaches, nothing really matters.
Oh my gosh, true.
We are not saving lives. Some people are, but we're not in an operating room or in a hospice situation, right? This is just us wanting to bring our gifts, our magic to the world and make a difference.
Well, that right there is the golden nugget of everything. It's true. And so many people that I know, including myself, I hide behind. That's how I got into digital marketing. I liked the idea that I could put all of my collateral in order, get all my words figured out before I had to publish it. So going live like this is still a little bit of an for me. It's just a little bit, but also the fact that when I approach the work that I do, or when my clients who are heart-centered entrepreneurs approach the work that they do, it's important and they're changing lives, and they're creating the ripple effect in the world by bringing love and health and energy to the people that reach them. But ultimately, right, they're not an EMT giving life support. They can become and show up authentically as themselves, live in their truth, and know that they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing at that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that that it resonates with you that way, and it makes me think of two things as I listen to you say that, and kind of reiterate the fact that we're not EMTs, and we can kind of relax and flow and enjoy the work we do. But sometimes also I get into the coaching jargon, and I like to put this in layman terms. And I wrote a few questions once when somebody said to me, why whole leadership? Because why is always a good question to ask ourselves as coaches, as business people, as employees, right? Why? And I wrote something that said, well, why is it imperative in today's dynamic and global world? And there's many reasons. We're dealing with multi-generational and diverse populations more than ever.
Yes.
So we have to learn about each other, listen to understand how a cultural difference or similarity plays into the relationship. The other reason why is that the one thing we won't be able to replace with technology is human touch, is relationships. And really all the technology allows us finally to have the face-to-face or the on the phone, even better, the face-to-face.
Yes.
Right? That's what we're leading up to.
Right.
So that service-oriented leadership is never going out. AI, artificial intelligence, right? More tech will only make that more necessary because we will continue to be human in the face of all of that going on around us.
Brilliant. So true. So true.
So that's the why. Then it says, well, how do I do this? How do I show up like that? First of all, it can be scary. I think sometimes we use the word stuck when we mean I'm so scared.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel confident enough. My self-esteem isn't fortified to a place where I can say, this is me, right? So there are actual tools to get us there, to build our self-confidence and self-esteem. I often think about the greats. We look at somebody like Oprah Winfrey, or Michael Jordan, or Simone Biles. Is it Biles? She's amazing.
The gymnast, yeah.
Yeah. Who is the chess champion? We look at all these people and we go, how are they so fabulous? And we almost feel lesser than. And guess what they all have in common? Mentors, teachers, coaches, around the clock. They have a village.
Oh, that's an interesting
Developing
insight.
themselves.
Yes.
Personally and professionally. I know this from the theater and dance world. It was hard for me, and it's hard for performing artists to mature sometimes because you have a village. You just get fortified and nourished and supported, and you show up and do your best work. And other things are taken care of. You and I, we don't have that benefit all the time, but everyone needs that. Everyone needs someone. Mm-hmm. And you can't look for it from clients, right? You can't look for it from management per se. But what if managers started to coach instead? Coaching is leadership. So that's the how. Some of the steps you can take, self-leadership means awareness, self-awareness, right? That takes some quiet time, some observation and conversation from other professionals, and then discipline. What do I mean by discipline?
Mm-hmm.
How am I taking care of myself on the daily? Do I have habits? Brendan Burchard calls them high performance habits. And am I willing to be truthful in integrity with self and make the changes little by little that I need to make?
So good. So true. Wow.
I want to maybe tell you a little bit about another platform that I'm using. to help people get out there. One of the biggest phobias, you know what it is? We've talked about it already. One of the
It's
biggest phobias.
probably public speaking, I'm guessing.
Uh-huh. It has a name, which took me years to find out. I think that the official phobia is glossophobia,
Oh, no kidding.
the fear of public speaking. And we all have a big village of people in it with us, because 75% of Americans are shown to be suffering from a fear of public speaking.
Wow.
It is even, I think, part of the reason, even if you're not going to be on a stage giving a talk, it's part of the reason at work that high-level executives and upper management don't take enough time with one-on-ones. I think there's a fear in that conversation, about that conversation. So I have developed a program after many years as a Toastmaster, and now a distinguished Toastmaster, which is their highest designation. And also incorporating my years on stage as a professional performer, I've developed Present Like a Pro, which is the gift I brought today. And that has 5 tips just in writing on how you can get through the fear, get self-aware, and get disciplined to practice, to write, and not only write, but practice delivering your talk. So I coach people through this process, but I also brought that as our gift today, which is Present Like a Pro.
Nice.
And I guess we'll be emailing that out, or you will put it in the recorded chat of this as a PDF.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
that just provides the 5 tips that we use as professional speakers to really, again, show up fully so that people engage. Really what's happening in the workplace and in businesses and with clients is that people often feel disengaged, unfulfilled, unhappy, uninspired after an interaction. And what we want to do is walk away from something feeling energized, feeling ready to go. You know, when we hang up on the phone, calls that we have one-on-one, I'm ready to do some work with what you've taught me.
Oh, good.
And
Same.
energized, you know.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Take action.
that's such an interesting point, because, I always think, all right, solopreneur, and then we have to show up, but, I don't have a team around me. And and other than Zoom calls, like those, I prepare and I'm ready and I'm set and I've got my tea and I have my water and I'm ready to go. But I would imagine in the day-to-day life of people who work elsewhere too, that it's not necessarily public speaking, but it is getting up the nerve to go and talk to somebody, or to speak to either somebody higher or somebody on your team. And I'm also bringing to mind, the other night I was at a collaborative meeting, and the house was packed with amazing people, 50 amazing, heart-centered, amazing people in a room. And we all got an opportunity to introduce ourselves. And clearly there were people more comfortable and more prepared to give a 45-second introduction than others. And then afterwards I spoke with some people, and they said, I wanted to die. It was so hard. It was so difficult. And I was able to say, for the most part, I was like, wow, you hit it well. You presented beautifully.
Nice.
But to know that they were having that anxiety.
Right.
Are there like tips that you give? Is that what will be in the handout, tips for like how to like nail even something short like that?
Absolutely. This one is more about the handout. The PDF is more about presenting a particular talk or presentation. However, even what we failed to find a name. I'm working on my creativity coming in to give me a new name for what is called the pitch, or the elevator pitch, because I think that that's very hard skill, business oriented, and I think that I will come up with a better terminology for it. But giving that 15 or 30 or 45 seconds also takes preparation. But another thing that I loved that you touched on was, it might not be about giving a public talk. It might be just about a one-on-one or a small conference room of 3 or 4 people, or walking over in a workplace to somebody's desk for just a few minutes to have a conversation. A lot of people have anxiety around that. So really, it's about practicing skills for communication. What I mean by that is, listen to understand is a great one. uh, the old Dale Carnegie, it's more important to be interested than interesting. So do we go into the conversation from our heart? This is why I call the platform in my 12-week coaching Lead with Heart, interested in, Susan, what's on your mind? Well, tell me more. And why is that challenging for you? Or why is that inspiring for you? And what else?
Yes.
So now your anxiety is removed because you're not talking about yourself. It's not about me. It's about, how are you doing? Fine. Ooh, that's a word, right? That's a F-I-N-E. It's a 4-letter word. There's a lot under fine. So what would be next? Well, yeah, but how are you really doing? Then the answer would be, well, honestly, it was hard to get out of the house this morning. My little one had a runny nose and a fever, and I had to figure that out.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you have a connection with that person that moves the relationship forward in 20 seconds.
And I find that, so if you look at it from that point of view, it is something that honestly women do a little bit better than men. I mean, you go to any kind of an event and the man's hand is right in there giving you and it's right there. Like,
here's my card.
Here's my card. Let me take your card. Let me call you next week. And which is fine. Sometimes I appreciate that directness, but you don't often get that level of connection that we get as in
You
women.
make me think of a book. There's a coach that's become very well known, Lewis Howes. His book is Removing the Mask of Masculinity.
Oh, interesting.
Lewis, Lewis, Howes, Howes. It's a great read for men. I think it's a great read for women to understand, because we can also help remove that mask in the way we relate to men in our businesses and in work. Communication is a skill. You know, it's something we coach people in. I work with a company freelancing called People Tech, TEK, and we do something called the Leadership Journey, a 12-week coaching with teams at the workplace. We did one with Bank United at the end of last year. Life-changing for the people involved, not only in the workplace, but we do a graduation and they give a testimonial, and there is laughter and there is tears of how they've incorporated what they've learned about themselves, what they've learned about communication and others, and what they've taken home to their families and the impact it's had there. I say we live how we lead, and we lead how we live. Too much compartmentalizing is not healthy for any of us.
That is so good. I love that. I'm going to write it down when I look at our notes again. I'm going to take all of this, summarize it, post it, put a link to your PDF, and I hope that everyone gets to listen to what you've just offered, because especially in this time of tech, I loved what you said about the more artificial intelligence, the more we have to, and we talked about this yesterday, the more we have to dive into our humanness and make the human connections.
I wanted to give a last little thing about how we attract people our way.
Oh, please.
And how we approach people. And it's part of my selling without selling talk. But I looked down and I was like, this kind of sums it up. Rapport, research, and then reveal. So first,
I love that.
Interested, and then see how we can serve and help each other. And this can happen in the workplace. And, you know, I never told the little story, but I ended up at a job in a cubicle for like 2 months of my life. I think I resigned right after 8 weeks. And in the shower in a cold apartment in New York in the morning, I thought, I'm going to start coaching.
Oh, interesting.
I'm going to make a difference, but I'm not staying in that position. So.
Yeah, we all have that aha moment, right?
That aha moment, yeah.
Yes. So how would people work with you? What would be a good, what's an ideal client for you? Who do you attract?
An ideal client are emerging leaders, tenured leaders as well. You know, through People Tech, I work with executives, but in MC coaching, I look for emerging leaders. They tend to be mostly in the demographic of millennials. Okay. And they want to show up fully and authentically. They want work that matters for something that matters. And they struggle with communication, with relationships and with speaking in general, because they've spent a lot of time on their phones and behind a screen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what differentiates me is that through whole leadership, I coach holistically. You'll see my bio on my website and other places. I'm a yoga and meditation teacher and practitioner. So I coach knowing that we're integrated, mind, body, and soul. I coach from a place of emotional intelligence and body and spirit intelligence. So my ideal client is somebody who wants to recognize that they are whole and show up that way in their business and their work.
Brilliant. And so so do you do like a discovery call or a breakthrough call?
I
Is
do.
that how
I do
people
a
can
breakthrough call.
Okay.
They customarily go for 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
On the gift that people who joined us live or will see on the recording, I can be reached. mccoaching.life is the website. But you can also book a call simply by going to calendly.com/mcoscarelli1. We'll put it in the notes.
Absolutely.
And clicking on that gives you the option for a call that is a breakthrough call. And then we'll progress from there. I can customize, and I have prepared packages that allow people to progress in this manner. And I work with people for as little as 12 weeks and as much as 2 years.
That's
I've seen marvelous changes that make my heart sing. And there are testimonials on my website.
Thank you. I can't thank you enough. First of all, thank you for yesterday. Our talking back and forth was so helpful. If you guys have an opportunity, I'd say hop on a call with Maritza, because her insight is amazing. Even with, I showed up thinking, ugh, I'm a mess today. I don't even think I can put my mind to it. And she's like, oh, no, we can do this. And it was amazing. And thank you for that. I highly recommend. Thank you for taking the time this morning to show up on Rise Above the Noise group. I think there's a lot of people here who will really resonate with what you've offered today. And
thank you so much, Susan. I'm really honored that you have invited me into your community, and I look forward to all the good things we're going to do together. And I look forward to hearing from the people on here and helping them to, it'll really advance your career and business to show up this way. I've experienced it with myself and with so many clients already. It's wonderful work. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Maritza. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, have a beautiful day.
Everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining.